Africa's role in a multipolar world, between the US, China, and Europe. Welcome back to Discovery Learning Hub, where we explore global issues with clarity and curiosity. Today, we dive into one of the most important geopolitical shifts of the 21st century. Africa's rising influence in a multipolar world. A world no longer dominated by a single superpower, but shaped by competing global players like the United States, China, and Europe. Stay with us as we unpack how Africa is navigating this new landscape, and why its role matters more than ever. What is a multipolar world? 4 decades after the Cold War, the United States stood as the world's dominant power. But things have changed. Today, global influence is shared among several major players: the US, China, the European Union, Russia, and emerging economies. This shift has opened space for Africa to assert itself not just as a passive participant, but as a strategic player with leverage, choices, and negotiating power. Africa's strategic importance. Why is Africa so important in this new global order? Population power. By 2050, 1 in 4 people on Earth will be African. Economic potential. Africa is home to some of the world's fastest-growing economies. Natural resources. From cobalt and lithium for global tech industries, to vast oil, gas, and agricultural potential. Geopolitical position. Key trade routes, naval access points, and growing regional organizations like the African Union. Put simply, Africa is the future, and major powers know it. China in Africa. Infrastructure, loans, and influence. China is arguably the most visible external actor in Africa today. Through its Belt and Road Initiative, China has financed railways, roads, ports, and power plants from Kenya to Ethiopia to Angola. Chinese companies dominate construction markets and play major roles in mining and telecommunications. Many African leaders appreciate China's fast, infrastructure-focused approach, often without Western-style political conditions. But critics warn of long-term debt risks, dependence on Chinese technology, and concerns about transparency and labor practices. Yet overall, China has become a strategic partner, and a powerful alternative to Western influence. The United States. Security, democracy, and competition with China. The U.S. approach to Africa has traditionally focused on security partnerships, especially in counterterrorism, health programs like PEPFAR, supporting democratic institutions. More recently, Washington has strengthened its posture in Africa as competition with China intensifies. The U.S. highlights its strengths: innovation, education and research partnerships, private sector investment, and a governance model based on transparency and accountability. However, some Africans see U.S. engagement as unpredictable or too tied to political conditions. Still, the U.S. remains a major partner in areas like technology, education, humanitarian aid, and military cooperation. Europe, Africa's historical partner, searching for a new role. Europe has long-standing political, cultural, and economic ties with Africa, but the relationship is evolving. The European Union is Africa's largest trade partner. Europe invests heavily in development assistance, climate programs, and governance reforms. New initiatives aim to rebalance relations away from colonial legacies and toward more equal partnerships. But Europe faces challenges: competition from China, tightened migration policies, and declining political trust in some regions. Still, Europe remains deeply intertwined with Africa's economic future, especially in renewable energy and climate transition projects. Africa's strategy. Non-alignment. With multiple global powers vying for influence, African nations now have options, and many are choosing strategic non-alignment. This is sometimes called non-alignment 2.0, where African states avoid choosing one global power over another, diversify partnerships, negotiate for better economic terms, and prioritize national interests rather than ideological blocs. Countries like Kenya, South Africa, Rwanda, Ethiopia, Nigeria, and Ghana increasingly shape their own global narratives. The African Union and continental integration. Beyond individual nations, the African Union (AU) is strengthening Africa's collective voice. The African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA, aims to create the world's largest free trade zone. Africa now has a seat in the G20, amplifying its global decision-making power. Regional organizations, ECOWAS, SADC, EAC, play growing roles in diplomacy, peacekeeping, and economic coordination. A more integrated Africa means more bargaining power with global giants. The road ahead, a balancing act. Africa's role in the multipolar world is not about choosing the US, China, or Europe. It's about leveraging all relationships to support African development goals. Better infrastructure, fair trade agreements, technology transfer, job creation, regional stability, climate resilience. The multipolar world gives Africa a unique opportunity to negotiate from a place of strength, not dependency. Closing scene. Africa stands at the crossroads of global transformation, not as a spectator, but as a central actor shaping the future. The question now is, how will African leaders, institutions, and citizens use this moment to define the continent's destiny? If you found this topic insightful, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to Discovery Learning Hub for more deep dives into global issues. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next episode.